listen to both sides. We're going to try to find some common grounds, and it's a process of working through those common grounds to getting more and more common grounds to building up some kind of a unity. That's right. So that you basically don't have to go to court.
That's right. And that's interesting, speaking of the court. When you go to court, if you have issues that you know are going to have to be litigated, you have to have a judge. You can't have a mediator, you can't have a referee. Right. Those people will not make decisions. Right. They will get you to come to a decision. Mm-hmm. And if you're paying a lawyer by the hour and you've just done this for 10 months and you've gotten nowhere, well, you've just wasted 10 months and probably a couple of $1,000. Mm-hmm. So if you feel at the very beginning there's no way that you two are going to agree to this, do not agree to a referee, do not agree to a counselor, but you want to go straight to the judge.
That's correct.
Okay. Steve, you wanted to talk a little bit about the Matrimonial Commission that actually Men's Net taped about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And we did a show on it. Efrain, you were on the show.
Yeah, Efrain probably knows a lot more about it than I do, the details of it. But basically, this was another one of those instances where the foxes were in the hen house. I mean, basically, everyone that was on that commission had a stake in keeping the status quo. And with some exceptions, which Efrain will point out, it was pretty much that way. Mm-hmm. For example, on shared parenting, they did absolutely nothing. They basically said, leave it as it is. Is really what the bottom line of this.
The commission also said that it's up to the legislature to change the domestic relations law. Now, we've been going to the legislature year after year after year.
I made that trip with you a few times to Albany.
And once again this year, the shared parenting bill died in committee.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is, of course, that they are recommending no-fault divorce, which is another thing that came out of the commission. They didn't seem to have any problem, with making that recommendation and to the legislature, but they couldn't make a recommendation with regard to shared parenting.
About shared parenting, yeah, it's amazing.
Interesting.
So unfortunately, if you're going to get divorced in this state, be ready for the War of the Roses, unless you two can work it out and do what's best for the children if there's children involved. Otherwise, as they said in The Godfather, you go into the mattresses.
Yeah. That's a shame. Really, the destruction of a family over, I mean, they said, so somebody, a nurse friend of mine put it perfectly. She said, marriage or divorce is like a bird cage. Marriage is like a bird cage. The people are on the outside want to get in, and the people on the inside want to get out.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing too that men have to be aware of is a lot of times they get into a court, they get a judge who's really just no damn good. Who's highly biased. There are many of them. They're biased against the father. Basically, you're in a system here that basically preys upon the father, and in the course of this destroys the family. And a guy has got to figure out. I'll cite an example. I was counseling this person. He went before the judge with a petition for custody after many, many months of wrangling and what have you. So finally, they got a hearing. The judge took one look at this petition and says, "Nobody told me this was a hearing on custody. I refuse to hear that." And that was it. His attorney did nothing. Oh. He did nothing. I mean, he should. I told him, for God's sake, you have a petition here. You're asking for custody. It has to be tried on the facts, on the merits.
He has to hear it.
And you either fire your attorney, get up in court, and tell the judge off. Do something. You've got to stop it at that point. And you've got to be prepared when you get into that court that you're not going to be intimidated. Right. It's very difficult to avoid that feeling, but you really have got to keep your eye on the ball, eye on your goals, and see that your attorney is following your strategy, not the court strategy or his strategy or something they make up on the spur of the moment.
Absolutely.
It is intimidating, though, you must admit. I mean,
it is very intimidating.
It's a sad reality that this person that you just decided you wanted to share your life with is now your adversary, your strong adversary. Yeah. And the children looking at both of you saying why, and it's just a whole ball of emotions. And unfortunately, the Matrimonial Commission decided not to carry that ball and make it easier. They did kind of make it easier with this new divorce kit, but ultimately the Matrimonial Commission threw it back at the legislature that if you're going to make changes, it has to happen there.
Yeah. I have a question for you two. Something that is kind of a pet project of mine, at least in the back of my mind, is that my feeling that everybody needs a prenuptial agreement. The people who really don't need it are the wealthy. They're the ones that do have it. But I mean, no matter how bad the divorce is, they're still wealthy. They're still living in a
Even-
That's a good
reasonable,
point.
reasonable circumstances.
Even a first marriage? Or
Yeah.
a first
Any
marriage?
marriage.
Right, first marriage. What difference does it make?
Any marriage, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and the people that have the most to lose are the middle class, the poor people. The only thing they have are two automobiles maybe.
That's right.
And a
And a
house.
house, yeah.
That's it.
Or not even an automobile, an apartment and a PlayStation.
Right.
Or the flat panel
They should
TV.
have a
And a pull-out couch,
prenuptial
right?
agreement.
Yeah, and a pull-out couch, yeah. Prenups are available if you have, prenups are usually when there's property and asset. And the middle class and the poor class don't have it.
That is
So-
true.
Well,
But there's also things like the assets, there's a lot that goes into assets, for example, pensions.
That's right.
Okay.
Because
Well,
it's an
part of
economic
that comes
division,
in.
it is.
Yeah.
So, there's
Well,
something.
But one thing I
We
could add
did-
to Steve's
Go
point,
ahead.
let
We
me
got
just
30
add this one,
seconds,
I know,
Maria.
30 seconds, is to your point about goals, the men should really be knowledgeable, because knowledge is power. They really need to know what they need to know in family court and make sure that they understand what they're supposed to be getting.
and go see a father's rights group in your
Absolutely.
area.
Come to our meetings, go to our website, please.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we got some information out tonight, and that's a good thing. I want to thank Stephen Metzger, Father's
My
Rights
pleasure again.
Advocate, Efrain Rodriguez, President of
you.
the Father's Rights Association, New York State, and
you.
Maria Rao, Dutchess County President
My
of
pleasure.
Father's Rights Association. That's about it for Men's Net tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. Log on to our website, and for Roy and myself, I'll say good night.